Peace be with you. My name is Allan Keislar. Although I'm in the United States, I'm always thinking about Pakistan because Pakistan is not an ordinary place. But I've been told, and I believe, Pakistan is that special area on our planet where pure Islam will be reestablished. Pure Islam means love, truth, justice, kindness and mercy, forgiveness, morality, always remembering God and calling on the names of God. That is what is happening in Pakistan. That is what pure Islam means. This is what I have been told. So we should all be very, very happy, understanding that this is what the future of our world holds, world peace, starting, God willing, in Pakistan with the establishment of pure Islam, pure love. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about Guan Yin today. Guan Yin is known in China as the Angel of Mercy. She is the most popular spiritual personality in all of China and many other places in Japan and other parts of East and Southeast Asia. Tibet, also known as Tara there, and throughout the world now. So Guan Yin was born as a princess named Miao Shan, and her father was King Miao Chuan Yang, and he was a very powerful and strict ruler, and he was married and had a beautiful queen and several daughters, 2 daughters, I guess, but no sons. And they were getting older and wanted to have a son to rule after the king. So they prayed and prayed for a son, but they had only daughters. So one night, his queen, Pao Ying, had a dream that she swallowed the moon. And soon after that, she learned she would have another child. And so they were eagerly looking forward, thinking they will have a son now, they're hoping and praying. But when the baby is born, she is a girl. There are many signs that this child is very, very special. Few flowers were blooming all around the country, and there was a fragrance that everyone smelled, this beautiful fragrance, like coming up out of the ground or from the sky. So they knew this is a very special child. And when she was born, this baby was clean and fresh, even without being washed, and she seemed to be glowing with a heavenly light, covered with multicolored clouds, and there are holy marks on her body, sign of someone noble and majestic. So the king and queen actually were feeling very happy, even though they were hoping for a son. This child was so beautiful and so special, they could tell that they were feeling very happy. In fact, the wise men in their kingdom told them that their new daughter would one day would become more famous and beloved than any man in all of China. So, on the advice of these wise men, they named their young daughter Miao Shan, which means very good and kind one. And now she's known as Guan Yin, which means she who hears the cries of the world, because she is so merciful and always listens to anyone who's in distress and helps us. So, but still, they were worried now who would become the king. And finally they decided that their daughters will have sons, and then the grandson they get from one of those daughters would become the next king. So Miao Shan was a very, very special little girl. She was always helping everyone. She never hurt anyone, even flies and mosquitoes. If they got in the palace, she would take them out and let them fly away happily. And if bugs got on the floor where they might get stepped on, she would pick them up and put them outside on a plant. So she was such a kind and sweet girl. And everyone loved her. And even though she was young, even though she was a princess, she never felt like she was better than the others. She always felt like everyone was part of one family. And even the poorest children she would bring into the palace and have parties with them, and she would even cook for them. She didn't feel they were any different than her. So she never said anything bad about anybody. And if her friends ever started saying something bad about somebody else, she would just walk away. So she was a very, very special child. So unfortunately, her two older sisters, after getting married, had children, but they were all girls too. Neither of them had any sons. So now it was time for Mao Shen to get married. And her parents were looking forward to her at least having a son, since neither of her sisters seemed to be able to. So when she was ready to get married, she told her parents, "I don't want to get married." Her parents were kind of surprised, and she said, "I can see that family life has so many problems. Even if I have a happy marriage, how long can it last?" And her father gets very angry, and her mother and sisters tell her she's making a big mistake, but she doesn't want to be a princess. She doesn't want to become a queen married to a rich and powerful king. She doesn't care about living in a comfortable big palace with many servants to take care of her and to bring her whatever she wants. No, she wants to give her life to helping others. So I actually am reading from a book that I'm writing about the different spiritual personalities from around the world. And I've read some from my chapter about Baba Guru Nanak Sahib. So I'm reading a little bit from this chapter about Guan Yin. So I'll just read a little more, and then we can have any discussion or questions or answers. So when Mao Shen said she didn't want to get married, her parents said, "Don't worry, we'll find you a perfect royal husband. He'll be handsome and rich and will make you happy and give you whatever you want." So Mao Shen answered like this: "Okay, if you want me to get married happily and have a wonderful husband, then there are three things that I'm sure you also want from me: to be beautiful, to be healthy, and to live happily as long as I wish. Let's make an agreement. I will marry any man you choose for me who can give me these three things. Otherwise, please let me remain single and unmarried." "Yes, of course," her father said. "We will surely find you such a wonderful husband." So then, Mao Shan, who became Guan Yin, went on, "When we are young, our faces are smooth and beautiful. But when we become old, our faces become wrinkled and our hair turns white. I will marry any man you choose for me who will keep me young and beautiful, no matter how long I live." The king and queen looked at their daughter in amazement. They don't know what to say. Then Miao Shan goes on, "When we are strong and healthy, we walk and dance like we are flying through the air. But when we suddenly become sick, we have to stay in bed. I will marry any man you choose for me who will protect me from all disease." So before her stunned parents can respond or object, she goes on, "We have many relatives and friends who love us, but when we are dying, even our own parents, our sisters and brothers, or our own children cannot take our place. I will marry any man you choose for me who can save me from death." So then she ends, she says, "If you can find me a man who can do these three things for me, I will be happy to make him my husband. Otherwise, you should let me become a nun. I want to join the convent." And this makes her parents very upset. They feel like they've been tricked. They know they can't find such a man. So they have to be quiet now. So Mao Shan says, "I want to go to the White Sparrow Convent and become a nun there." And King Miao Chong-yen has an idea. "Okay," he says, "you can stay in that convent," but he secretly thinks that he will make sure that life will be too hard for her. He's going to make sure that the nuns treat her very, very badly. So he agrees to let her go and become a nun in the convent at White Sparrow. And she tells, the nuns they have to make sure that she comes back to the palace soon. Otherwise, he's going to kill them all. He threatens them like this. So when she gets to the convent, they make, the nuns there make her work very, very hard. She has to sleep on the cold floor, never get much sleep, wake up in the middle of the night and take a freezing cold shower and spend hours meditating and praying before sunrise. She's given very plain food, and but she enjoys it. Then they tell her she has to make a garden for the kitchen, which she thinks they won't be able to do because it's hard and rocky soil around the convent. But she makes a beautiful garden that has many fruits and vegetables, even in the winter. And so then the nuns are astonished by this, and they order her to bring water for the convent, which is from a well far away, and she has to carry big, heavy buckets. But then a spring of pure water comes out of the ground right next to the kitchen. So they keep giving Miao Shan harder and harder work, washing clothes, sweeping and mopping the whole convent, chopping and carrying wood, and doing boring jobs in the kitchen like peeling or cutting up huge piles of vegetables and scrubbing pots and pans. Then they make her clean all the toilets in the convent. They give her so much work that she has to stay up all night trying to finish it while the other nuns sleep. But then the animals living around the convent see what she is doing, and they help her with the work in any way they can. So when King Miao Yin finds out about this, he's so angry at the nuns that he wants to kill them. He's warned them. And so he sends his soldiers to burn down the convent in the middle of the night. But Miao Shan is already awake, saying her prayers, and she puts out the fire all by herself, with her own hands, but she doesn't get burned by it at all. So what happens next? The king gets so angry with his daughter that he finally decides he will keep Miao Shan locked up in a prison and give her only the most disgusting food, barely enough to keep her alive, just to convince her that she has to get married. So, but he can't convince her. She is, even locked up in the prison, she is happy and peaceful. So the king doesn't know what to do. He starts drinking more and more alcohol to try to forget everything, but this only makes things worse. When he gets drunk one night, he screams to his guards, "My daughter refuses to carry out my order. We must rid the earth of such poison. Otherwise, other children who hear about this will also disobey their parents. See to it tonight." So he sends his guards to kill his daughter because he was enraged and drunk. So the guards have to do what the king says. They bring him to the executioner, who is waiting there with a big sword. He's cut off the head of thousands of criminals with his sword, but when he sees this sweet young princess there, he starts crying, the thought of what he has to do. And he tells her, "I can't kill you. You've done nothing wrong." She says, "Don't worry. Even if I have done nothing wrong, I will surely be protected. You just do your duty. Heaven will know the truth, and nothing bad will happen to you." So she kneels down in front of the executioner. He raises his huge sword to cut off her head. And then suddenly a big storm starts. The sky becomes dark. No one can see the moon or the stars. Lightning flashes and thunder roars without stopping. The earth starts shaking as if she is angry. Then a huge tiger suddenly jumps out of the darkness. He puts the princess on his back and races off, carrying her into the forest. But Miao Shan forgives her father. The tiger has taken her to a large cave in the nearby hills, so she's safe there. And sitting there, she is meditating and praying, and then she begins to hear voices crying, "Please save me, please save me," and others saying, "Oh no, what have I done?" These are the voices of people who had spent their lives hurting other people and causing harm, and then died without asking for forgiveness. So now they can really see what they did, and they feel so bad about it, it seems to them like they're burning in a fire of hell. So Princess Miao Shan hears this, and so she wants to help them. She wants to save them. So she goes down to this hellish place, the Valley of Death, and she goes to them one by one, tries to help them. Most of them are afraid of her. They don't want to talk to her, but she sings so sweetly to them, talking with such love that finally they start listening to them. And before too long, she is able to free them from their suffering. She is so pure that this dark valley of death becomes bright and happy, and the flames of hell stop burning, and the flowers grow up in their place. Miao Shan realizes that her father is going to be suffering like these people in hell, and wanting to save him from that, she decides to go back to Earth. And I think we'll end now because I've gone on long enough, and we'll continue this next week, God willing. I think it's very important for all of us to learn about these spiritual personalities who are popular in other places all over the world, because we want peace. Everyone wants world peace. Nobody likes fighting and killing and struggling and getting killed. So to end war, we need to become familiar with the cultures and religions of other people in other countries, because, as a great theologian said, there will never be peace in the world until there's peace among the religions. So that's why I'm writing this book. It's actually in very simple English, so that even children can appreciate it, so that people, especially children, will learn about religions in other parts of the world, so they will see, oh, these are good too, and we can also even learn from studying them. This is the purpose I have in writing this book. So I'll continue the story of Miao Shan next week, God willing. Okay, let's see what questions or comments we may have. Shirley Shad says, Salam, sir, please share some good news. So, good news about Guan Yin. People learning about Guan Yin, they become happy and loving and peaceful. So this is wonderful news to spread this story. Study it yourself and hear it and ask questions about it. This is the best news, when we spread love of God and of the great servants of God like Guan Yin. That makes us happy, and that's good news. Otherwise, in this world right now, there's a lot of bad news, of course, but we don't have to worry about that because everything is in God's control. Okay, Waqar Latif says, Assalamu alaikum, sir. Wa alaikum salam. Sanam Shabir says, Assalamu alaikum, Baba. I love you very much. Baba, my request is pray for me. I want to become a Sufi poet of Kashmiri, India. Oh, wonderful desire. I will pray for you. Wa alaikum salam. Sanam Shabir ji. I will pray that you will become a great poet. Yes, may you be a Sufi poet of Kashmiri, India. Kashmir has a great culture, great poetry already, great Sufi poetry. So it's a wonderful tradition. I pray that you can have your dream fulfilled of being a significant part of that great tradition. And that will also make you happy and make many other people happy. In the midst of all the suffering, great poetry can enliven us and uplift us. Oh, good desire you have. All right, so looks like that's all the questions or comments we have. So please, I'm asking you, listen to this story of Guan Yin. Pray that you can appreciate it and learn from it and imitate, follow her example of being kind and loving to all, not only people, but all creatures. And God will protect us if we follow in her footsteps and being kind to others. God will certainly protect us as he protected her. Okay, thank you very much. May God protect us all.